So 15 cigarettes a day, that's the impact that it's having on your body, loneliness. My biggest mission in life is to allow people to feel good in themselves and just feel at peace with who they are. After they finish work, they sit down. That's it. What do I do now? And that's when then the food comes in. People show up as being a certain way, but deep down there's other things going on. And if you're constantly looking at social media, you're comparing, aren't you? You're looking at everyone else and subconsciously you're taking in all that information.
But there's been times when I've been really not happy.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because like when you're in a relationship and like say for example the person becomes your right arm and then all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, they're not going to be here. It's like, how do you now adjust to having no right arm?
How do we treat these kind of things?
There's 3 different tools. So as a therapist, I would say...
What's up, guys, and welcome back to First Things First. Very happy to have our guest on today, Dr. Lalitaa.
Hi, nice to be here.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
You did, and with the doctor.
Yeah?
Yep.
What does it count? I mean, to be a doctor these days, what did you need to do in order to get that title?
The years and years and years behind that. So I've had to do my undergrad, then do the master's, and then move on to doing the doctorate. And then once I had completed the doctorate, then I was Dr. Lalitaa.
What did you know that you wanted to get into psychology?
No idea. It's everything's just guided me this way. I've always had an interest in human behavior and understanding how or why we do the things that we do. But it was actually by accident I've ended up down this route. And my friends, I remember at college, my friends studied psychology. They were going down the psychology route. And I was like, I don't want to be by myself doing economics. So I'll also go into psychology. But I remember when I went into the psychology introduction session, the teacher was talking about dolphins. And she said, dolphins, they sleep one hemisphere at one time, because if they don't, they'll drown. And I was like, this is so interesting. And because of that one fact, I decided to go down the psychology route, and here I am.
And has it been an enjoyable career so far?
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Not even just interesting. It's been empowering to see how people can make changes, small changes that just change their lives. And you knowing that you're that vehicle in their life to make them see a different way in how they want to be in the world. And that for me it just gives me that passion of why I do what I do.
Yeah. I guess it's a similar thing when I started off doing the whole fitness thing, personal trainer, to have people come up to me and say they've lost, a load of weight, or like I'm the reason they've gone to the gym. Like it kind of fuels you to keep doing what it is that you're doing. Yeah.
Do you think that's the thing that motivated you?
For me to get into fitness, or for me to start making content revolving around that?
You getting into fitness and working with people. What was it about working with people that made you give that you got that buzz?
I think because I started to build up a bit of a following, I was getting bombarded with questions where people needed advice. And I actually started to get a little bit sick and tired of replying to all these people with the same replies. So I thought, let me just put something together which will address all these questions in the future. Yeah. And then just direct people to that particular video or whatever. And then, of course, when you actually see people interested in the content that you're making, getting the views, getting the positive comments, and then people coming up to you, then that, it pushes you to keep on doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're saying that, for me, what comes out is the how-to. People don't often know the how-to. They know that they want to make a change. They know they want to get from X to Y, but they don't know the how-to. So you're the one that comes in and is like, right, this is what you need to do to get to where you need to be. And it's the same in my field. It's like, right, how do you get from A to B? This is what you need to do. And that's what people struggle with. They're like, I know I want to go there, but how do I get there? And that's the beauty of what we do.
I think today there's so much misinformation. Yeah. People just, they need a clear answer, someone who can simplify it, because there is quite a lot of complex topics, and it can become overcomplicated if you let it be. Yeah.
And also everyone's different as well. Like everyone is different, and everyone will need a different path to help them and support them. So they might have different illnesses or different things going on for them body-wise, or in terms of like their mental health. So they need a different pathway to help them. So it's like trying to personalize something for them.
Well, I think as well, most people know what they should do. You probably know you should probably go to the gym a bit more, or maybe you should not eat those things. Eat less of those things and more of these things. And the longer I've been in the game, I've realized it's the mentality and the psychology behind it, which is going to determine whether someone is going to get in shape or not. Yeah. Are they going to lose fat or not? Because if they're not mentally healthy, then I think they're gonna struggle with it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but 95% of what we do is subconscious. So a lot of people, they say that with the 5%, I want to do this, I want to get to this, but then subconsciously they may self-sabotage, they may do something that stops them from getting to where they want to go. And that's where it's like, right, what is it that's stopping you from reaching? You know you want to get there, but what is this thing that's stopping you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So subconsciously there's something that's going on. So you probably see it in your work, is that people want to get from A to B, and you're like, right, okay, this is the path. But then somewhere along the line, they get lost or something happens and you're like, what's going on here?
Yeah. It's usually either because the motivation will come and go, either the motivation goes or something happens which knocks them off track. And
is there a common thing that tends to happen?
I think everybody needs to be real with themselves and have a conversation and say, look, what are the things that knock you off track?
Yeah.
For me, it was always going on a night out and drinking a lot of alcohol. Drinking lots of alcohol would completely just, if I'm in the flow state and everything's going well with training, business, everything, a big night out on the alcohol, it would take me like 5 days to get
5
back.
days?
If it was a big, we were talking a big night. Okay. I don't do it anymore. 5
days, that's a long time, isn't it? Like especially if you're constantly doing that, 5 days out, 5 days out, 5 days out, 5 days out. Imagine how many days that equates to.
I know, exactly. And then there was also, it was food as well. So if I was to go and have like a big cheat meal, like a dirty cheat meal, I would often find it would always be a lot harder to get back into my good eating habits.
Why do you find that? Like, why did
I think because you have, first of all, if you have cheap food, it tastes unbelievable. So then your palate has changed. Like, healthy food doesn't taste as good anymore because you're comparing it to this ultra processed, sugary, savory food, wherever it might be.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure it changes your gut microbiome as well.
Yeah,
so you then start to crave different foods. So I would notice the day after eating cheap food, I would just want to eat it again. And it was always like, I have to redo everything to get myself back into a good routine again.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the biggest breakthroughs, and it's taken, I've been doing it for like 15 years. It's just observing myself, all the mistakes that I made, and then, okay, being real with myself and listing, these are the things which are going to knock me off track. So you don't have to avoid it completely, but let's just try and reduce how many times I'm going to do these things.
Yeah.
And then the likelihood of me succeeding is going to be much higher.
But it's also that willpower and discipline is like you having the space to be able to stop and say, right, I've had this cheat meal and my body is craving more of this cheat meal and I want to go down that route of having more, and you can get lost in that rabbit hole. But you saying, hang on, stop. Mike, let's stop here and let's just understand what's going on, what's happening, and what choices am I going to make now moving forward. So that's willpower, that's choice, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I would say now I've built up quite a lot of discipline. And people look at me and think, oh, well, you have it easier than everyone else. I'm like, well, not really. I face the same temptations that everybody else faces in the modern world. But I've learned to try and minimize those things which are going to lead me down a path I don't want to go down. So say, for example, if you can go into my apartment, you look in the kitchen, there's no junk food, there's no snacks, there's nothing, like even healthy snacks I can't have, because if I have one, I'm gonna have another one, and the whole box is finished. I can't have cereal, I can't have granola. I just get it out of the house. So you know the way that you work. Yeah. And you're like, right, out of sight, out of mind, just put it away and just not have it here. Yeah. And the same thing with like always around 7-8 o'clock, the sweet tooth comes out of nowhere. And that's when I can easily just mindlessly eat. Yeah. So I have to strategically time when I'm going to eat and then what foods am I going to eat, which is going to satisfy me. Maybe I just need to go to bed a little bit earlier because if I'm awake for too long, then I'm start getting hungry again. Like I've got to the point where I understand myself quite well. Yeah. And I think more people need to do that. Yeah. And it's interesting you say that about like the eating around 7-8 p.m. because a lot of people will say around after they finish work, they sit down. That's it. What do I do now?
And that's when then the food comes in, like the relationship with the food comes in, and it's like, right, I'll eat this. And then they regret it. They have shame, they have guilt the next day. Like, why did I do that? Why did I allow that to happen? But it's also, is there something that's going on for you at that moment where you're not regulating in a certain way, and then you need food to help you soothe yourself?
Yeah.
So are you lonely? Are you disconnected? Is there something else going on for you that you're not this high productive person where you are at work and then you switched off and it's like, okay, who am I now? What do I do? Okay, let's go to food. Does that make sense?
Well, I realized that if there's something lacking in my life and I feel unfulfilled or even a little bit sad, I would turn to food to make me feel happy.
That's interesting.
This happened when I was, I think, 20, when I was living in London. I just moved to London, didn't have any friends. I was in a long distance relationship, so I couldn't even see my partner that often. I was getting very heavily into my work and wasn't going out, wasn't socializing, wasn't really having fun. And because my social life and, you know, the fun aspect of my life just wasn't happening, I was turning to food to fill that void.
Yeah.
Which didn't make any sense because obviously I was doing YouTube and I was trying to look my best, but I would keep eating really badly, like every evening, going down this like downward spiral.
What do you think that was about? Like when you're reflecting back on that version of you?
Just not being happy, I think. Not being happy because I wasn't with my partner. Like it wasn't having sex with anyone, wasn't going out having fun and socializing because I didn't socialize because I didn't want to put myself in a position where I was, you know, surrounded by temptation. Obviously winters here pretty brutal, so there was no sunshine, no beach.
The impact on your circadian rhythm and everything else behind the scenes.
Yeah, everything was just a bit like, no fun.
Yeah, so food kept you company. And I wonder in how many other people's lives food keeps them company and is a love-hate relationship where they love it because it gives them that regulation, it gives them that soothing, and they've learned that from a very young age. But at the same time, it's that shame that comes up, the guilt that comes up after as well.
What do you find a lot of the patients that you see, what issues are they struggling with?
High functioning. So I'm all about high functioning anxiety, and high functioning anxiety to me is someone that presents themselves as being organized, hardworking, driven, someone who's got it all together. But behind the scenes, that's not what's going on. They're stressed out. They're over empathizing. They're overworking. They're feeling very stressed. They've got catastrophizing thoughts, but they don't show that side to people. Instead, people see this one side. So there's two different parts of them. And it's a bit like the swan gliding. And you see how beautifully and elegantly it just glides, but underneath it's like there's so much more going on. So a lot of the people that I work with, they have that, and it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper into understanding where did we learn this behavior of doing rather than being. So being in your present body, being in your emotions right now. But where is it that a lot of people have learned that I need to do all these different things to keep myself so busy, but to also feel enough to get validation? And that's a lot of, a lot of people that I work with, high achievers, entrepreneurs, business owners, who are so geared up to go, but they've forgotten how to be.
Yeah. Do you feel, is it, you get a mix of male and female? Yeah.
Yeah. People will often say it's mainly female. And even if you look at research, they'll say that majority of females will struggle with imposter syndrome. But the clients that I work with, it's a mixture. It's a mixture of males and females. And I think for both males and females, they'll often say, I don't want this to go anywhere else. I want this to stay confidential. So there is this fear of, will anyone else know that I'm getting this support? Will they think that there's something wrong with me? So you're having to sort of understand what's going on for them initially to then go deeper and deeper and deeper into what's actually happening for them. Yeah.
I think I've noticed that a little bit is that I seem to take on more and more every year. Yeah. I know it's probably not doing me any good, but I feel like it's just, I like a challenge. I like to be, doing something new. But there is times where I'm just like, whoa, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're managing with a lot going on?
I think so. I don't get too stressed out or worried about everything. I mean, even sometimes what I do to kind of relax is before I go to bed, I watch like these documentaries on space, and then I just think, the universe is so big and we're so insignificant. I'm like, all the things that you're worrying about just really don't matter.
Yeah.
and then it kind of just puts me at ease, and then I just fall asleep. But of course, some people could watch documentaries like that and get freaked out. Being like, oh my God, what is actually going on?
Like anxiety that comes up. But what it sounds like for you is it's perspective. So you're putting it back into perspective. It's like, hang on, the universe is so much bigger. There's so many other things going on, and I'm here, and I can get stuck in this rabbit hole right now of like thinking about this person hasn't got back to me, or this hasn't happened, or this hasn't happened, and you can get stuck in that. But actually you're making a choice to watch these documentaries to be like, hang on, life is so much bigger than what we are right now. And it's okay for me to not get caught up in this worrying thought.
I think I remember I was doing a podcast, I think it was last year, and I asked the person, I was like, how do you sort of get rid of that feeling of stress? And he was saying, well, you can't get rid of it. That's a part of being, you know, a business owner, a go-getter, like doing all these things. You are going to feel stress. What you can do is to improve your ability to deal with it. So you could be in a stressful situation, but if you can tolerate, you have a high stress tolerance, then that's good, because you don't let the stress phase you. But I think that's what I was struggling with, where I thought I needed to get rid of it, but in reality, I need to, you know, come to terms with the fact that it's going to be there. I just need to build up tolerance.
Yeah. And I think people get confused with like stress, with anxiety, and they think this is bad if I have it. I shouldn't have anxiety. And I think it's about understanding, okay, my body's reacting in this way. So if I notice that my heart rate's going really, really fast, if I'm noticing that I'm getting really sweaty palms, I'm noticing my throat's getting dry, like everyone will have different anxiety symptoms. But if you understand what's going on for you, then you know, okay, what can I do and why is it coming up? So if I'm presenting in front of people, I may be mindful that, okay, I'm presenting and I'm noticing my body sort of like going into anxiety mode, but it's also a natural response, because if we think of how we've evolved over time, if there's a lion in front of me, I need to react. If I don't react, it's fight or flight. I'm going to die if I don't react to this lion. So what we're doing is like, we're now presenting in front of people, and your brain's like, oh my God, if something happens, if you say something wrong, you're going to get shamed. If you say something wrong, people are going to laugh at you. If you say something wrong, and not everyone has these thoughts, but majority of people will have these thoughts when they're in front of people. But where does that come from? And that's when you deep dive and you go deeper into, where does humiliation, where does shame, where are these feelings like coming from? Because you may then avoid not going on stage, or you may avoid not doing presentations, and you stay in that comfort. But how will you grow in that comfort? Because you're just going to remain thinking, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. But by putting yourself in that situation, that's when you blossom. So another layer comes off, and you step into that fear, and you show yourself, I can do this. It's a beautiful journey.
I remember at school, I used to hate public speaking. I used to hate going up in front of the class. And then,
what did you hate about it?
I don't know. Like
what was it? Like you're in front of the class right now, and you're having to read something.
Just being judged. And then it's always weird when you have a load of eyeballs just looking at you. And then maybe it was just because I had a few experiences when I did it, and I felt discomfort. And I didn't feel like I did very well in that situation. And then I just said to myself, well, let's not do that again. And then I definitely, especially in my early 20s, I shied away from that massively.
What do you think people would say about you speaking? Like, say if you're back at school.
Now or back at school?
Back at school. What were you afraid? Like you said you were afraid.
I don't know, because it doesn't make any sense, because there was some kids who were just naturals and they could do it seemingly without any problem. But then there was other people who, like me, who just really hated it.
Were you hard on yourself?
Was I?
Yeah.
I think I still am hard on myself.
You still are?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think we need a therapy session there.
But I think it's a good thing, though, because you always want to self-improve.
Yeah, like, but I think it's how your inner critic screams at you and shouts at you in the background, or if it talks to you, or versus if it's constantly just shaming you.
Because like, I'll go to the gym, I look at my physique, and I'm at the point where I'm content with my physique, but I'm always critiquing myself, like, oh, I could do this better, could do that better, this could change, could be a little bit less body fat. The same thing with business, or maybe sometimes when I've done a podcast, at the end of the podcast, I might be like, I feel like I could have done better. I could have asked better questions. But that's a good thing, because that drives me to be better. Yeah. But you don't want to get to the point where you get so obsessed, especially when it comes to your physique, and then you develop these, especially sometimes with women, these eating disorders, because they look at themselves in the mirror and they think they're disgusting.
You'd be surprised, it's a lot of men as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's a lot of a lot of fitness guys who have the worst relationship with food.
And their body. It's like, I'm not good enough. Yeah. I should be this, I should be this, I should be this. And then scrolling through social media and then seeing everyone else, and someone else might be a certain way, but then you critique yourself. So it sounds like even the way that you do it, it's more self-improvement. So you look at it and it's like, right, I could have done this. But you don't sit there dwelling in, I should have done this, and then beating yourself up. It sounds like it's more reflective as opposed to beating yourself up.
Yeah. How does someone have that approach instead of the bad one?
I think it's a relationship you have with yourself. From my experience, it's if you are seeking that external validation and you're wanting that external validation from others and you're very outside in rather than inside out, you're going to want or feel that you need to be this perfect way of being. And if you're looking at everyone else and thinking they're like this, or their body's like this, or they've posed like that, I need to do this, you're constantly seeking that next thing to be like everyone else, rather than to be comfortable with, this is who I am. I'm proud of myself, I feel content in what I'm doing. But often it's that good enough, it's people not feeling worthy in their own skin, in their own body. And that's where a lot of high functioning can come from. High functioning anxiety is, we're in this space of, I need to go. And you're on that hamster wheel. You're constantly on this. And it's like, when you step off, you don't know who you are. You don't know how to be, because you're so used to just doing to get them quick fixes of seeking that validation of, see, I'm enough. I'm enough. It's really sad, really sad.
Very quickly, guys, I want to give a special shout out to the official sponsor of the podcast, the Digital Playbook. This is something which I was working very hard upon towards the end of last year, and I'm happy to announce it is now finally available. This is something which I wish I had years ago when I was working as a personal trainer, stuck inside of a gym, and all I really wanted to do was travel the world and make money online. It'll teach you how to turn your passion, skill set, and hobby into an online money making machine that'll give you all the financial and geographical freedom that you have always wanted. All the lessons which I've learned, all the mistakes which I've made, all the experience which I have gained, which has led me up to this point in time right now, is all inside of it. And of course, there's a private community full of like-minded individuals like myself who will be there to help each other and motivate you along your way. So if it sounds like something you're interested in, head over to thedigitalplaybook.net. and I'll see you on the inside. So let's clarify the difference between stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
So anxiety is when you're feeling worry about something.
So when we think of stress is like, if we think of a thermometer, we have stress, we have anxiety, and then we have panic. So stress is like the low end. You're noticing things in your body, you're noticing things that are going on, you're stressed about like work situations. Anxiety is now when the physical sensations start to kick in a little bit deeper. So you're noticing, okay, I'm noticing my chest is really tight. I'm noticing my throat is really, really dry. I'm noticing sweaty palms. That's why I'm noticing all these physical symptoms now. Mm-hmm. And then panic is where we feel like we're out of control. It can take us to like having a panic attack. We feel like everything's just very, very overwhelmed. We're feeling exhausted. So it's like a thermometer of different sort of experiences that you can go through.
Mm-hmm. How do we treat these kind of things? Because I know there's you can go down the medication route.
Yeah.
But I would say, at least from my point of view, I'd try and avoid that, because I don't think that really solves the cause. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. I think for me, I'm all about the root cause and getting to the root cause and trying to understand what's going on. Where is it that your body is learning that this is stressful? Where is it that your body is learning that this is anxiety provoking? Or where is it that your body is learning now that I'm so out of control, I'm physically having this panic attack and I don't know how to control the situation? And for me, it's about there's three different tools. So as a therapist, I would say the first thing is self-awareness. You need to become aware of what's actually going on. So what are the physical sensations that you're feeling? Then the second thing is understanding where do these physical sensations, why is it that I'm presenting in this way? So it might be that, for example, we said speaking out on stage. So you might be presenting something and your now anxiety is sort of creeping up, and you can start to hear your thoughts of like, oh my God, everyone's looking at me. What are people going to think? All these things started to creep up. Now your physical body is reacting, because now your physical body sees that as a threat. Mm-hmm. And then you start shallow breathing, your body's getting ready to fight or flight. So in that situation, you need to understand what is it that's going on. So you're fearful because you're worried about what people are going to be thinking. And you're noticing that your body is reacting to what you're now thinking. But do you now need to deep breathe to just bring yourself back into the present moment? because your mind has run off somewhere else thinking people are going to laugh, people are going to do this, people are going to do this based on your previous experiences. So not everyone will react in that way, but it's because maybe you've had a situation before, or you've seen a situation before where you've seen that this could happen, and that's why you're feeling that in that moment. So for me, it's self-awareness, understanding, and then making conscious changes. So if you know in that moment you get anxious because you're speaking out in front of all these different people, you can see everyone looking at you, and you're having all these different thoughts of what are people thinking, what's this, then it's understanding, where does that come from? I remember when I was 11, and I remember this is what happened when I was 11 years old. I remember when I was 22 and I went to an interview, and this is what happened. And I know that there's a part of me that's worried about what these people are thinking. Okay, I know what my body is doing now as a result. So let me bring myself back to my body, to the present moment. Let me just allow myself these deep breaths to just come back into my body. And that can really help. So it's them 3 stages: self-awareness, understanding, and conscious change, where you can start making changes to understand why you're presenting the way that you are.
Do you ever get anxious?
Yes. Yes.
What makes you anxious?
Oh, loads of different situations. So many different situations will make me anxious. And there's new triggers. You're smiling. There's new triggers all the time. And that's why I think you can be a monk on a mountain and never have anxiety. But if you know how, or what the tools are to help you manage anxiety, you can help you move forward, because you know that, okay, this is another moment in this situation where someone's made me feel anxious, or something has happened in this situation. Let me unravel it. And that's my growth. That's my development. That's how I see it, because it's giving me more awareness into understanding what's going on here. And it gives me more learning, more development.
Do you think overall mental health is getting worse with the general population?
Yeah, I think it's getting worse, but I think it's also, there's different factors. So one factor is we're becoming more aware of mental health issues. So we're becoming more aware, where there's more treatments, there's more support for people. So although, yes, we're noticing more mental health, it's also because of other factors that are going on. That's how I see it.
I always wonder if there was a peak time where mental health was at its lowest, because I think realistically, if we compare society today compared to 100 years ago, when there was a war going on, or 200 years ago, mental health was probably not at its best then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think on the whole, life is certainly a lot better. But I think maybe, compared to, for example, the 90s or early 2000s, I feel like that environment was less stressful, because there was no social media. Everything was a little bit more chilled out. I think now the introduction of social media has changed the game, and I think and mobile phones, and even I get caught in the trap of just mindlessly scrolling. If you do that for too long, you just kind of come away from it like, oh my god, like, what is going on? Especially when you could be sat at home doing nothing, and then you're scrolling, you're seeing all these people doing all these amazing things, and you're just like, oh, I'm sat in my room alone. Maybe I should do something with my life.
Yeah. And if you're constantly looking at social media, you're comparing, aren't you? You're looking at everyone else, and subconsciously you're taking in all that information. So you might be like, oh, look how happy they are on their holiday. They get to go to a holiday. I don't get to go on a holiday. And you don't know what subconsciously is happening. And also, are we more disconnected as a society than we've ever been? So are we more connected through phones, but we're not connecting in real life? We're just so busy on the phones. And is that what is causing loneliness? And they say, I mean, one of my dear friends, they have written a book about loneliness, Simone Heng, and in there, one thing that she has written about is how loneliness impacts on our physical body. It's like we're having 15 cigarettes. So 15 cigarettes a day, that's the impact that it's having on your body, loneliness. But no one sees that. Yeah. There's a study that's been done.
In what sense? What, like?
The physical impact of loneliness, how loneliness feels. So although you might feel loneliness, what impact is it having on you physically? And it's like they've compared it to having 15 cigarettes a day. That's the impact. And we're not talking about this. Yeah. We're not discussing this. And are we, as a society, we are more lonely than we've ever been? Although we're very connected. But we're showing our best lives on social media. But how are we actually talking to people? How are you? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Yeah, everything's fine. But how are you really? Where's the depth? Where's the understanding? Where's the space to be able to, for people to talk about what's going on for them?
Yeah, I think particularly after lockdown, I don't think that helped, because more people are now working from home. And obviously during that period of time, everybody was just extremely isolated. And even for a lot of guys who are driven and they want to push forward with their career, they are often just prioritizing that one thing, and they're neglecting, you know, the social aspects of their lives, you know, friendships.
Do you see a lot of that?
I think so. And I think I experienced it when particularly I decided to really push forward with my career, and it was like 2017 when I moved to London. I kind of isolated myself to just work. I just wanted to, I think it was at the time, I just wanted to grow my YouTube channel. And
so what was work doing for you at that moment? Like that there was obviously something that was going on where I was like, I need to work. What were you getting from work?
Money.
Okay. And what was that feeling like?
It's feeling pretty good, to be honest. I mean, I was financially, it was better than it had ever been, because I had gone from like having $1,000 a month to, I mean, over 30,000 in a very short period of time. And there was all this positive reinforcement online. I mean, obviously there's negative stuff as well, but it's kind of like I was living in the digital world. Like I had all these connections and relationships with people on social media, and even with the clients on the one-to-one coaching. But then I realized, you know, I'd spent all day in my apartment and not had an actual in-person human interaction with anyone. And that was, I guess that kind of tied into when I was developing that unhealthy relationship with food.
That's interesting, isn't it? Look at that. We didn't have the human connection. Although we were seeing people and we were talking to people, we didn't have the human connection. Look how powerful that is. And look at what you did as a result of that is we found another way to soothe ourselves. Did you find that there was other things that were going on at that point in time for you? Like, did you go down other paths or other routes to cope with that?
What, like aside from food?
Yeah.
Not really, because I wasn't drinking or partying or doing anything like that. To be honest, that probably would have helped.
I wonder if that's what people do though, with partying, with drinking, with all these other coping strategies. They find ways of coping or distracting.
Yeah. Well, I went out a lot in my teens and 20s. I drank a lot. And one of the main reasons why I drank a lot was because I was actually feeling very anxious in these social settings where it's like loud music, loads of people everywhere, like lots of people shouting. And, you know, even when people are kind of dancing, if you're stood there sober, it is pretty overwhelming as an experience. Maybe not for some people. Some people thrive in that, and they're like, oh my God, yes. You know, they can have a great time and not need anything. But for me, I felt so uncomfortable. I would have to drink to feel more comfortable in those scenarios.
Do you think you were comfortable though, or do you think it became avoidance? Because when you're drinking, are you becoming, like, what is it that's going on when you're drinking that helps you to cope with the situation?
You care less about what people think, I think. You feel more comfortable, I feel. Like the thing that was making you feel anxious before seems to just disappear.
Yeah. Because I wonder what alcohol actually does to the physical body, but also to the emotional body. Is it that, we don't care about what other people think, but is there an element of us being able to just do and just to be, because we're not overstimulated by everything else? And alcohol just cuts that out. So we can end up just doing whatever. But then the next day, like when I work with clients, the anxiety that comes up when you struggle with anxiety, because of like, why did I do that? Or what happened? And the shame that comes up with that. So there's all powerful emotions of you letting go, having fun, drinking and doing that culture. But it's like, right, as a result, what then ends up happening, and how then, or what's the relationship then that you have with yourself the next day?
Yeah, I had a few past relationships. There was one in particular. She drank a lot. She did drugs as well. She liked cocaine. And I would feel the brunt end of that with the personality and mood swings.
What did you notice? Like, what did you see?
Like 1 minute she'd be really happy, then the next minute she'd be like super low, and then an argument would just come out of nowhere because she's feeling like super. I mean, she suffered from anxiety as is just normal. So doing that on top of the existing anxiety just amplified it massively. And I would just say to her, like, why do you keep doing this? Like, you're just making the situation worse. So anyway, that relationship eventually didn't work out.
Yeah. But it's hard, isn't it, when you're in a relationship with someone and they're choosing strategies that you know are perhaps not good for them, but they continue to do it because that's what they know. That's all they know.
Well, the worst thing was a few years after we broke up, she ended up committing suicide.
Oh, no.
So, and I know for a fact it was because of the lifestyle she was living with the drugs and the alcohol. When she was on the lowest of the lows, it was because of the drugs and the alcohol.
How did you feel when you heard the news?
I was devastated. But I mean, it was, we stayed friends, but we hadn't really continued to speak that much. I remember I was in Miami at the time, and I woke up and I just had all these messages on my phone.
Yeah.
And then, it was shocking, really.
It's hard as well because you can end up having feelings like, did I do enough? Should I have done this? Could I have done this? But when someone makes a choice to end their life, there's a lot that goes on for people that are still living, and there's still, you have to sit with certain emotions that are coming up for you and what's happening and how you're feeling as a result.
I felt, because I know her parents well, so I felt really bad for the parents because I can't imagine what that must feel like. It's like surely you must feel like you failed as a parent for that to happen. But I mean, it was, I've experienced a few suicides before. Like my dad's brother committed suicide when I was like 16, which was really random because he was the most happiest guy ever. So that one didn't make any sense. And then there was a girl I went to Leeds Grammar School. There was a girl at the girls' school who, again, she was kind of in the friendship group, and she seemed okay. She did seem a bit troubled.
Yeah.
And just one day she'd decided to do that.
Isn't it interesting that sometimes we hear people that have committed suicide and we say, but they were the happiest? And is that telling us something that often people, again, going back to the high functioning, people will show up as being a certain way, but deep down there's other things going on. Yeah. And we don't know what's going on because we just see what people show us. But it's then really difficult when you think back to like, but why would they end their life? Like they had this, they had this, they had this. And it's like, it tells us like when we're living everyday life, we have a way of being in this world. We can make choices, we can do certain things. But there's also this background that we have the doubt, we have the imposter, we have the anxiety, we have the overthinking, we have the sensitivity that goes on in the background. And it's like, how do we learn to manage that so it doesn't get to a point where it just feels so overwhelming that we don't even want to be here anymore?
I mean, I can't ever begin to imagine what they must be going through where that is the only way out.
Yeah.
And you get some people saying, oh, depression isn't real. Like it's something that can be cured. But I don't know if it genuinely is something that you're going to have it for your entire life, but you have to understand what it is and know what to do when you start to have those feelings.
I think it's you knowing your red flags, isn't it? You understanding, what are my red flags here? When do I know that I'm sort of like going down that bad path? How do I know I'm going down that bad path? Because you might feel like you have everything. You've got the great partner, you've got the great house, you've got all these great things, and that's often what people will do. They I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I followed what society wanted me to do, but I'm not happy. What's going on? What is this? And they hit that brick wall. And they think that, what's wrong with me? Why is it that I'm not happy? I've got everything that I needed. And it's in that point where I'll sit with them and I'll talk to them and they'll say, but I've got everything that I thought I needed. And that's the thing. I thought I needed.
Yeah.
So often people are so focused on living a life based on what they think that they should be doing rather than what they actually want. And that's because they've learned to follow rules. They've learned to follow a certain way that society wants them to be. And they've never really delved inside out. They've been living outside in, trying to just think, okay, I need this, I need this, I need this. And that's when they come to the place where they know how to come out of this. But not everyone does get that chance to be able to explore what's going on.
Yeah. I think one thing that's usually something which can have quite a big impact is look at your surroundings, your environment, your friendship groups. Because I think a lot of the time, if you maybe relocating somewhere else, maybe changing your friendship group or like changing your job, just this change can get rid of a lot of those sad feelings which you were experiencing. So I think the sadness or unhappiness, which I've experienced, I don't know if I would call it depressed, but there's been times when I've been really not happy But I've just thought about it and thought, well, that's because I don't like this position I'm in now. Whether it's I don't like where I'm living, or I don't like the environment, the climate, or what I'm doing for a living. Like at one point when I was a manager working at Hollister.
Yeah.
And I remember just working in this, this is just like a pitch black store.
Yeah, I've been in one of them, yeah.
It's even darker than it is now. I think now it's lighter than it used to be. But I'd go there almost every day, had to work on weekends, had no freedom in choosing when I was working. It's like, here's the schedule. This is when you have to come in. Just doing laps around this store every day. Just thinking that like there has to be more to life than this. And I could have easily stayed in that role. There was an opportunity for me to get promoted and climb higher within the company, but I just thought, no, I have to get out of here. But
what made you feel like you had to get out? What made you feel like there was more to life?
I think just that I was fairly well traveled. So I knew there was a bigger world out there.
Have you always been interested in travel and wanting to go out and explore the world?
I remember just thinking, when am I most happy? And I was most happy when I would be in the sun, somewhere warm, by the beach.
Yeah.
Just exploring somewhere new. That would always fill me with so much energy.
Yeah.
But, on the other end, traveling too much nonstop is exhausting and annoying.
Yeah.
So there is a balance. And then I don't know. I thought I was capable of more. So there was a lot of self-belief, thinking that if I really want to do something, I could do it. And I think it was at that point in time when I was working on the shop floor, the only thing I cared about was going to the gym. So then I made the transition between doing that and then becoming a personal trainer.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned something really interesting. You said self-belief. How did you know it was self-belief? How did you know that feeling that you were feeling was this is me feeling there's more?
I don't know, because it's a difficult one. I just feel like if I want something badly enough, or if I really put my mind to something, I can figure it out and I can achieve it. Now, bear in mind, I was 22 at the time, so I hadn't. The self-belief I have now is obviously much higher than it was back then, because I hadn't really accomplished anything. I just knew I was capable of more. But I think this is a problem that a lot of people have, is because they don't have that self-belief.
Yeah.
They think, they'll look at someone they aspire to be or is doing amazing things, and they just think, I can't do that. But
that's also their limiting beliefs that stop them. So when they have self-doubt, or when they feel like, I can't do this, they stop themselves from doing things that they know that they may not think that they're capable of, but they are capable of. But because they have that belief, I can't do this, I'm not good enough. Other people are doing this, why should I do it? Other people are doing this, I can't do this. But those are the limits that they put on themselves. And it's where do them limits come from? It's how they believe in themselves. And people get confused between self-belief and confidence. So self-belief is what's going on internally, how you feel about yourself. Confidence is how you portray yourself. So you can be confident, but you can lack in self-worth. So if I'm talking to you about a certain topic, about plants, for example, I can be very confident talking to you about that, but I might lack in self-belief. But if people lack in self-belief, that can just stop them from doing certain things. So okay, I don't want to work in Hollister, there's more for me, I want to do this, I want to do this, and your self-belief took you there. But a lot of people, they may not have that self-belief, so they'll end up staying in Hollister thinking, but I can't do that, I can't do that. And what is that really about? It's fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of failure, all of these different fears that people might have, which sit in the subconscious realm and stop them from doing certain things. And it's there's so much that you could do in this world, but it's you that needs to believe in yourself. Not someone else can come and say, you can do this, you can do this. I have friends, I have people that I work with, and I'm like, right, this is the strategy, this is what we're doing moving forward. But ultimately they have to do it. I can't be the one who's telling them, because it needs to come from them.
Yeah.
Otherwise they're constantly seeking that validation outwards rather than inwards.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like people just need to be more willing to take risk.
Yeah.
And more willing to be uncomfortable. like some of the biggest leaps I've made in my own self-development is just doing something really difficult that I really didn't want to do.
What's been the biggest thing that you've done that's been really uncomfortable and it's taken that leap of faith?
I think the moving on to social media and creating content in front of a camera and speaking to it, because I was absolutely useless speaking on camera. And it was kind of like a long process of me coming out of my shell, because I'm not naturally like super extroverted, like wanting to talk loads, be around people. It was I was quite a shy person.
But isn't this also about visibility and you being seen?
What, me wanting to be seen?
Yeah. Perhaps there was a part of you that struggled to be seen, but there was another part that wanted to be seen, but you didn't know how to transition. And that's what that whole process was about, is how do I step into my power?
Yeah.
How do I really feel who I am, rather than, oh, I better not do this because what are people going to think? It's like, let me step into that and know and really know myself.
I think as well, like when I started off, you know, you do feel a bit of imposter syndrome, like you don't know enough. And I felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing this. Like I wasn't in a position of authority. But then once you build some credibility and you've got the reps in and you've built, and I think once you start to build an audience, you that gives you self-belief and, you know, a bit more confidence, thinking actually, well, there's people there that clearly want to see more of this.
But isn't that the beautiful thing about social media? Is that, I mean, there's the negatives of social media, but there's also the beauty of community and people feeling that connection, but also people seeing what you're doing and you're like, oh, do I do this? Do I share this? And the more you share it, people are like, oh, this is really helpful. This is really, and that just builds your confidence. It builds your self-belief that people want this. People need this. I didn't realize that this is going to be helpful for people.
Well, I think everybody can find their own community somewhere. Yeah. Like there is literally a community for everyone. Like even like the weirdest hobbies or passions that someone has.
Yeah.
Like you're going to find other people that have similar interests. It's just a matter of going out there and either finding those people or maybe just creating that community yourself.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of social media. Because I know social media gets a lot of negativity, but there is a lot of positivity that comes out of social media, people learning things. I know I've posted a few things around high functioning anxiety, around ADHD, and people are like, I didn't realize that this is what is going on for me. Like it's really helped me to understand. So now I can make the changes that I need to make. But they've been living in this, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. And that silence until they start realizing this is what's going on. And I suppose even with your work, when people know that I can exercise in this certain way and it will help me, rather than me doing this or doing this, that's not helping me, it gives them the knowledge, the wisdom that they need to help them move forward.
It's quite interesting with social media as well, because I think to be successful and to stand out, you have to be really authentic and stand firm with your beliefs.
What does authenticity mean to you?
Being your true self.
What does being your true self mean?
Just behaving in a way that you would normally behave if like nobody's around.
Yeah.
Like, not feeling the need to change the way you are to impress other people.
Do you feel like you used to do that?
I think before I was very like neutral, because I just wanted to be seen as a coach. So I was like very sensible coach, because that was kind of how I would make money and get clients. So I need to be seen as a respected personal trainer and coach that somebody would want to work with. And then I remember, like, as time went by, I started to show people more my personality. Like, I'm a bit weird sometimes, but I would show that weirdness.
But isn't that okay to be that weird part of you? Like, bring it out and show the world that.
And there'll be obviously there's some people think that's pretty weird, but then you get some people who like they also do weird stuff like that.
Okay, give me an example of this weird thing, because I'm really intrigued now.
I don't know, just what do I do weird, Jasper?
What is this weird thing that he does?
Yeah, like I don't. I pull weird faces.
It's like Sid the Sloth filter.
Yeah, there's like these like filters which I take stupid pictures of my face and then I'll just like send it to him. Like the good thing I don't.
Only Jasper gets them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and some other special people. Yeah, like people who know me really well.
But that's not really weird. That's just you being like true to yourself, and you want to share a part of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, I know this is actually really interesting. My mum saw one of them once on my laptop, and she said, this is really interesting, it's like your escape from having to maintain this pristine look.
Oh, yeah.
Being like the good-looking body, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because there is a...
Because it's only certain people that see that part. You don't share that with everyone else on your social media.
No, I really... yeah, because on social
Thanks,
media,
Jasper.
you have to be like this, sometimes a certain way. And like, even though...
Why do you have to be a certain way?
No, it's good to show yourself, your true self. But I think if you sometimes show too much of it, then you might start pushing people away or losing your ability to actually make money. So if you go too over the top, then it could possibly harm your brand or your chances of collaborating with more of the sensible people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And isn't this where we say like social media is like 5% of what we actually see of someone's life? Because there's so much more, but people choose to share what is life like. I do that on my profile. I only share certain things, but I don't share my entire life because I feel like your entire life is your sort of your privacy. So it sounds like for you, it's more of like, I don't want to lose my business and my brand, and this is why it's so important.
I think...
Why is there so much laughter?
I'm just thinking about how weird I am sometimes.
About how weird you are. It's okay, embrace it.
Yeah, I think I do. And it comes out in the vlogs.
Yeah.
Like, it really comes out in the vlogs, particularly if I'm around people I'm comfortable with. People see the real side to me.
Yeah.
But if you went on my Instagram, you'd probably think I'm some very serious guy who's like not fun.
So are you high functioning? Like, as in, like, there's one side that people see, but behind the scenes there's like this other part of you.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
So who's this other part? Who's this part that no one gets to see? I'm intrigued.
Pretty hilarious guy, I'd say.
Yeah. Hilarious. Anything else?
Like, absolutely not serious.
Yeah. So do you think this side portrays seriousness and... Because you can carry both sides.
I mean, sometimes when I can't sit down and do a podcast with someone and just crack jokes all the time and not be serious.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, some podcasts do that, and it's great, isn't it? It's just showing their authentic self. But I think it depends who you're with and the topics that you're talking about. Yeah,
and obviously I live in Dubai as well, so you kind of... You have to behave in a certain way. It's pretty interesting.
It really is. My sister and my sister-in-law and my brother, they live in Saudi, and obviously there's certain ways that you have to behave and present yourself compared to when you're yourself. So I get it. I understand the dynamics there. And
because there will be a lot of people who will probably not like it and think it's a bit weird. But then there'll be a lot of people who will absolutely love you if they find that side to you, because they're like, oh my God. Like,
but isn't that what you want? Don't you want similar people? Like, don't you want people to relate to you, to understand you, to get you? So isn't it about integrating the two parts of you? There's like, you can have the professionalism, you can have that part of you, but also bringing in this part as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And that's why those people who are very successful on social media or have like such a loyal followings, because they have an ability to do that. Like they're maybe known for a certain thing or have like a really good skill set, but then they can just throw in the personality as well. Yeah. Like if you can add that mixture of education with personality and a bit of humor, then that's like the magic combination where people are just going to...
Do you feel like you do that?
I think it depends what mood I'm in.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely room for improvement. I might wake up and I'm just like not in the mood.
Yeah.
The days when I wake up and I don't want to talk to anyone or I don't want to make a video. Yeah. But you have to put on a bit of a performance.
Yeah. But also I think it's about like you having that balance. So sometimes you wake up and you're just like, I'm just want to be an introvert today. Yeah. I just don't want to talk to anyone. I want to have my own time. I want to have my own space. And then, you've got the energy then to speak to people.
Yeah, but sometimes you
can't do that.
You've got things to do on your schedule. Got to go talk to loads of people today.
But that's why it's nice to have a balance, isn't it? On your days, like you can choose, okay, on this day, I'm going to have like the morning to myself because I know I need to recharge. I do that. I'm like, I need to have that. But then actually I know I'm going to be social then, and then I can have this time to myself and I'll be social then. Otherwise it just drains your social battery.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was like really introverted, and then I realized if I was by myself too long, I felt really weird.
Maybe you're an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, that probably How do you define that?
So you like to be extroverted, but also you like your own company
I think,
as well?
I feel like, okay, I'm going to go out and I'll be extroverted, but then it will just, the battery will run out and I'll be like, I'm out. I do this so many times. If I go on a night out or if I'm at a social event, I remember we were in Malta last year and there was a load of influencers staying in a villa, which was really fun and like engaging. And then there were certain points where I just completely just was drained. And and then people were like, what's wrong with you? Like, you okay?
So people would notice?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just ran out of...
So what would you do?
I'd just go into my room.
And then do what?
Close the door.
I've had enough of you.
Yes.
Leave me alone. So how long would you have to be there until you recharge again?
As long as I needed to recharge. I remember we were, again, we'd done, it was like a meet and greet at this gym. And to be honest, all I wanted to do was just train. But of course, it was a meet and greet inside of a gym and there was just loads of people there who wanted to talk to me. So I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to train. So I'd just meeting people for an hour, taking pictures, just like all the same small talk on repeat. And then they were like, okay, we're going to go back to the villa now and do this. And I was like, actually, no, I'm just going off by myself. So I just went and walked around Malta by myself for a few hours.
But sometimes that's what you need.
Yeah, but it was so nice.
Yeah.
And then everyone was like, everyone thought I was in a mood.
Like, are you okay? Like, isn't that interesting that people perceive you? You're like, okay, I need to take time on myself. Maybe they're used to you being the extroverted version of you. They don't know that other part of you, the introvert. So they see that extrovert and they're like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And then you think, I need to show up now or I have to be a certain way because people think there's something wrong, but there's nothing wrong. There's you just need to, I mean, when we look at research shows that when you're in nature, it's really good for your mood. It's really good for your well-being. But often we don't do this. We're so busy just caught up in everyday life. You're not doing the little things that can just recharge you and refuel you because you're so focused on I better perform. I need to do this for this person or I've got to do this. I've got to do this. And you get caught up in that doing and then you forget just to be.
There's definitely many times where people have thought that I'm being rude.
Okay.
And I'm honestly not.
But you're
rude.
like just shut down.
I'm just like, I'm absolutely wiped out.
So how do you just recharge? Is it just like, I just need time away from people?
Yeah. Like I love being by myself. I think it's actually worrying how much I like my own company.
But don't you think that impacts on, or does it? Actually, that's a question to you. Does it impact on your relationships?
Yeah, because I know I'm so content and happy with being by myself that if somebody is not going to improve my situation, then why do I want to be with you? Like,
but don't you tell people that? Like, don't you say that actually alone time? This is the thing I find in relationships, people don't tell the other person what they need.
I do that now.
Yeah.
I say, like, this is who I am. Like, I need my space.
Yeah.
Usually I found being in a relationship with someone and we live separately, that works very well.
Yeah.
Because we have the time apart. When I need to be alone, I need to be alone.
Then you've got that space and that time to just have your introverted time.
And it makes me think, like, this probably can't last forever. If I want to have kids and a family, everyone's probably going to be all like under one roof.
Yeah.
So,
are you looking forward to that?
No.
Why not?
Well, I'm looking forward to having kids, but
I
might have to get my own little man cave somewhere.
Why do you think men probably get man caves? Like man caves, they class it as this is my alone time.
Yeah.
But not just men need it. I think women need it as well. It's not just it's a man thing, but it's also.
Yeah, if I was putting myself in the woman's shoes, being around the kids all day, I would be absolutely wiped out.
Yeah. And you can see how it then impacts on relationships and how other things can come about in between that relationship. Because if someone's doing more of the work or someone's taking more of the responsibility and someone else isn't, that can then have a huge impact, and then that impacts on the relationship. So you can set yourself up and think, right, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, and one person is showing up in a certain way and the other person is. But when you have kids, everything can change. And it's like, have you had conversations? Have you spoken about how is it that you're going to move forward? Because people don't talk, people don't discuss. And I see that in the therapy space. People will come in and they're like, we've argued over a pencil being on the floor. It's nothing to do with the pencil. There's so many other layers, but they haven't discussed that.
Like little things that build up over time until it snaps.
Yeah. And they will argue over, you didn't take the bins out, or you didn't do this, or you didn't do, and it's like the tiniest of things, but it's nothing to do with that. It's to do with so much more.
Do you think that's down to the couples just having like different values?
Yeah, and also perhaps like their love language, like someone not being seen, someone not being understood.
There's no book called The 5 Love Languages.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
Yeah. Have you read it?
I've got it. It's on my bookshelf, gathering dust.
Have you not read? Do you like reading books?
I like to listen more than I read.
So shall I give you my audio and not my book? I'm just trying to.
Are you narrating? Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
I'll give you I'm doing it next week, so I'll give you the audio.
I can't believe when people bring out books and they don't do the narrating themselves.
Yeah, because it's a big part, isn't it? Yeah. Are you getting your book coming out soon?
Yeah, I've just finished writing it.
Have you?
No.
I saw the
No, I didn't even know how I'd begin to start writing a book.
Do you know what it'd be called?
No, but it would have to have an amazing title.
Yeah. Do you know what it would be about?
I feel like I need a few more years of living life for the book to be a little bit better.
What do you think people take away from you, like right now? The people that you're helping, the people that you're supporting, what is it that your story allows people to take away?
I'm hoping to inspire people because I was once in their situation.
What's that?
Just not really having any skill set, not really knowing where they want to go in life, probably not being very confident in many different areas of life when it comes to like relationships, business, like everything, just feeling overall very useless.
Why do you feel like that you ended up in that space? From your life story, what happened in your life story that you ended up in that place where you felt you didn't have the tools?
I think to be honest, all men in their late teens are pretty useless.
You think so?
Yeah. No offense, but I mean, at that point in time, you just come out of school. Yeah. What do you have to offer the world? At that point in time, not a huge amount. You don't have any skills. You don't have any money. Like you got a lot of work to do. Yeah. Self-improvement. But that's the way life is for men. Like as a teenager, someone in their early 20s, it's hard work. It sucks. Like even dating. Like if you want to try and date somebody else, like a really hot girl who's also 21, 22, you're not going to have much luck with that because they're going to be with the guy who's 10 years older, who's like already smashed life. Doesn't
that impact on like their self-belief, their self-worth? Is that what you find a lot, what happens with the people that you work with?
Well, I just say to them, your best years are to come. Like you're not going to come to your prime in another 10 years. Yeah. So all those things that you want to do, all those experiences you want to have, they're going to happen. But right now you need to focus on yourself. Okay. First of all, get yourself in shape. Fix your appearance. Maybe sort out like the way you dress as well. Start building. I mean, it's not necessarily for everybody, but I always say like start building some sort of a presence online, social media, because that's like your digital business card. And realistically, if I'm going to collaborate with anyone or do anything, I'll check them out online. I'll go to their Instagram, see what they're about. So start building some sort of an audience, and then most importantly, building your skill set. Okay, so start developing skills. Yeah. Okay, maybe one thing which you're going to be the very best at, go ahead and start doing that. Or if you don't really know what that is, then maybe accumulate a couple of different skills. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you'll build more confidence. You'll have more to offer the world. You start making more money. You'll get better at relationships. Like all these things which life is going to throw at you, you're going to be able to handle to the point where, even for me, it wasn't until the age of 28 where I was like, oh, I'm actually pretty comfortable with who I am now. And that wouldn't have been the case if I hadn't gone through everything that I've gone through.
But what kept you going? Because often people will start at like 21, 22, and they'll be like, what's the point? Like they'll start online, they're not getting the likes. Like people want quick results, don't they? So what kept you going up until like 28 and you're like, okay, this is...
It was a particular lifestyle that I wanted to live. Yeah. It wasn't like all I wanted to do was I wanted to have enough money so I didn't have to worry about my finances. I wasn't bothered about, having all these luxury possessions. I just wanted to have enough money that I could have freedom. Yeah. To travel wherever, live wherever, and just have the essentials covered.
Do you feel like you're in that space where you are right now? Do you feel like you've got to the space that you are?
From that point of view, like if I was to define success, I feel like I became successful once I had those things accomplished.
So that's what success means to you?
I think if you Yeah, I mean, it got to a point where living in Dubai, an amazing apartment, I could wake up every day, do whatever that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I was my own boss, fully content with who I was and the skin that I was in. Like, I think that's a pretty good position to be in.
So you said you started off in Leeds and then you ended up in Dubai. How did that journey end up? How did you end up in Dubai?
So went to Newcastle University, lived there for a couple of years, did my degree, and then opened a gym there. And then I realized it wasn't exciting enough. The city wasn't big enough. It's like being a big fish in a small sea.
Yeah, and you felt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd been to London a couple of times on trips, and I found London very inspiring because all of a sudden you're just around like, you know, all these really cool things, all these successful people. And I was like, oh yeah, like this is the environment I need to be in. So I moved to London. London is a good place, particularly before 2020. And then I just realized that I was at my happiest in the sun.
Yeah.
So that's when I realized, okay, I need, and also because when I'm in warmer climates, I'm more motivated and disciplined when it comes to my diet. Yeah. I'm always showing my skin, like you're topless every day.
So you feel like you need to continue.
So you're like, I want to look better.
Yeah.
And I remember in the winters here, there was no motivation to be leaner because what's the point? No one's going to see it. Even I barely see it. Look in the mirror like twice a day, like fully naked anyway. But
it does really impact on you, like being in the winter here. I see it with clients, the seasonal affective disorder and how it impacts on your circadian rhythm because you wake up, you see dark, you go into bed, you see dark,
it's
and
grey.
It does impact.
All the time it's grey. But I think some people get more affected by it than others. And some people, I think that they are in situations where it's really difficult to relocate. So maybe they have family, maybe they have to be in a physical location when it comes to their work.
And also fears. People are fearful. Well, if I move here, what about this? Or I need this, and they talk themselves out of it.
I think that's when I did make the move, everyone was quite shocked. They were like, why are you going there? Because it was kind of before more people started going.
Yeah. So for you, it was like sun all the time.
Sun. I like to be in a lively environment. At this point in my life,
energy is really important to you, isn't it? By the sounds of it.
Yeah.
Like energy. Like
because the thing is, if I live by myself, I don't have people around me in close proximity. But if I have located myself in a place where there's just loads of stuff going on, lots of people coming in and out, the option is always there. So if I want to go meet someone and hang out, there's all these options. But also, if I want to hide away and not talk to anyone, I'll just stay at home.
Yeah. So you can be your introvert when you want to be an introvert.
Yeah.
You be extrovert if you want to be extrovert.
Yeah. I like to be somewhere where there's options.
Yeah.
To fulfill whatever mood that I'm in. I have a question for you guys. Do you take supplements? And if you do you really know what supplements you should be taking? You see, this is a problem I had for years. I would walk into a supplement store. I would buy loads of random bottles of supplements and just pop pills every day, hoping for the best. But in reality, I had no idea whether or not I should be consuming these supplements. That is where Bionic came into the picture and solved that problem. You see, I've been working with Bionic for the past couple of years, and since 2021, I've been getting my blood work done with them every 3 to 4 months. And based on that blood work, they send it off to get analyzed, and then they put together a very specific customized formula for me, which will last me for 3 to 4 months until I get my next blood work done. And honestly, it's been an absolute game changer for me. They also offer another product called Bionic Go, where all you need to do is go onto the website, fill in questionnaire, and then based on that questionnaire, they can give you your customized supplements. So if that sounds like something that would be of interest, which I highly recommend, go onto the website, bionic.com, and you can use the link in my description to get a nice little discount on your first order.
Did you miss like your family or your friends here in the UK?
Yeah, more family, 100%. Friends, I think when I moved to London, I had to say goodbye to a lot of my friends in Newcastle. Like, they were really good friends of mine.
Yeah.
So really, I actually found it quite difficult to make friends in London. I didn't have many friends in London when I was living here. And then I moved to Dubai. And again, it kind of took me a while to find a good friendship group.
Yeah.
But I think I was always I was at an advantage because I had that online presence. So wherever I go now, people just naturally kind of warm to you.
Yeah.
Because they follow you or know who you are and they want to hang out with you.
But okay, I'm going to ask you something.
But yeah, it's very shallow.
Yeah. No, it's not shallow. As in, like, you know, people, they see that 10% that you are online. Even if it's 10%, if it's like 1%, whatever it is, people, they see you being what they think that you are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Or they think that, okay, you're this person on this social media, I want to be part of this person.
Mm-hmm.
But what about you being seen, you being truly seen? Does that make sense?
What do you mean?
So when I talk about being seen, this part of you that's like want to be an introvert that wants to like just chill out and not do anything, but rather than you just having to force yourself to be like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do this.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people, my question is, do you feel like people really see you? Yes, okay, we have the online version of you, we have the brand, we have everything else, but what about you as a person? Do you feel like people see you?
The people who I'm close with,
Yeah,
they do, and they know what I'm really like. But I think, yeah, if you are someone from the outside coming into my circle or getting close to me, they would definitely see a different side to me.
What side would you show them?
So whatever mood I'm in at that point in time.
Yeah, so it's just like,
If I'm tired and not talkative, then that's what they're going to get. But if I'm in like a good mood and lively, then that is also what they're going to get.
Yeah.
So I'll always be polite and make time for people.
Yeah.
So even if I'm really not in the mood, but you know, I'm meeting someone also, like a fan would come up to me, I really make an effort to just leave a good impression.
Yeah. You know, when you're out and about, do you find that a lot of people come towards you, like they recognize you from online?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It feels it's pretty good because I mean, you just see the smile on their face.
Yeah.
They're so happy, and if me just existing is having that effect on them,
isn't that so beautiful?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like I've had partners in the past, and they're like, God, like guys really love you.
Yeah.
Like they really, like they've never seen that before.
Yeah.
And they'd always be there in the background listening to the conversation.
Yeah.
And they'd think, oh wow.
Yeah. No, one of my friends, well, actually not friend, cousin, he was like, Mike. He's like, I really like, and I was like, from a guy, like, are you being serious? And his name's Sonu. He was like, Mike, like you're going to have a podcast with Mike. And I was like, do you know who Mike is? And he was like, yeah. He was like, I really admire him. I really, really love him. And I was like, okay. I don't think I won't tell your wife what you've just said there. But do you get a lot of guys coming towards you compared to girls?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. But yeah, it's
really interesting, isn't it? But obviously you're a role model.
You know, the weird thing is though, every interaction in person has been 99.9% positive. Yet online, there's still a lot of negativity there.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Like what?
Oh, just
look at that deep. The deep side.
Yeah, I mean, Jasper knows. Like, I get a lot.
But don't read. Don't read it.
I don't read.
Does Jasper read it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Don't read it.
That is. It doesn't matter if you're the most likable person ever.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna have a problem with you.
But sometimes it's keyboard warriors, and like you don't know what's going on in their life, and it's easier for them to sit behind a keyboard and type something out. But I think it's about how you take it as well. So if you see a certain comment, why does it impact on you in the way that it does? Because we can't please everyone, can we?
But I used to love reading comments because it would give me feedback as to whether the content I was making was good or like maybe I need to check. 'Cause sometimes I will say things from time to time, less now than before, where it would just be like a bit of a stupid thing to say.
Like what? Give me an example. I'm putting you on the spot a lot.
I can't think. I might have just said something that was either inappropriate or not very, I don't know, just it's not very inclusive, whatever it might be.
Okay.
And I might think, that was, I probably shouldn't have said that, or I should have said it in a different way. Yeah. Or I'm not like necessarily putting myself in everybody's shoes. So I think, okay, I need to improve upon that and just reword it or be careful with what I say next time. But yeah, it's, like I can't look at comments anymore because you just know that you're going to see something you won't like, and that thing you don't like is going to just stay on your mind all night.
Yeah. isn't it interesting that one, say if there's like 10 different comments that are really positive and there's that one comment that isn't, and that one comment will stay with you, and the 10 people that have said really nice things, it just goes from your mind because you're so focused on, and it's like, right, what can I do, and we can get so hooked onto that one thing. But when you have that relationship with yourself to be like, you know what, this is whatever's going on for that person, and sort of disconnecting from it and not getting caught in that overthinking, not getting caught in that catastrophizing, it can really help you. Like I remember I looked at someone posted something, one of the articles in Mail Online, and I went in and I was like, oh, let's have a look at the comments. It was the worst thing I ever did. Worst thing I ever. And after that, I said to myself, I'm never going to look at comments ever again. So even if people engage, I just don't want to look at them because I'm just like, it's out there. And some people might say nice things, but there's a lot of mean people out there, and you have to just look after your own well-being. And it's like, just don't read comments.
Well, that's why I don't get too heavily involved with Twitter, because that, or Twitter, X, whatever, because that's like a breeding ground for arguments and debates, and that's just generally, I'm not really about that life. In fact, I think I got to the point where I was too averse to having uncomfortable conversations.
What do you mean uncomfortable conversations?
Difficult conversations. Yeah. Whatever, it might be business, might be in relationships. I would know that it would be a difficult conversation, so I just would avoid it, and that would be the worst thing that I could do.
Yeah. So isn't that again really powerful? That I know a lot of people that avoid anything that they feel is difficult, because difficult means, what does difficult mean? It means it's uncomfortable for you. So it'll bring up an emotion for you. So people will avoid conflict. They'll avoid speaking out their truth because they're like, it's going to upset someone else. And if you're sensitive, you pick up on someone else's responses and you're like, I better just not say anything. But it builds up, and then it can build up into resentment, anger, frustration, and that can leak out. So if you don't communicate what's going on for you, it's going to find another way to come out. Yeah. And it's really, it's interesting seeing how it can then unfold.
That's why I always admire people who are just so brutally honest.
Do you not feel like you are?
Not brutally honest.
So what are you?
Well, some people are so brutally honest where they'll just say something that's like borderline a little bit offensive, but that's just what they're thinking, and they just say it.
Yeah.
Like I don't go that far.
But you're compassionate about it.
Yeah. Well, 'cause I know. Yeah, I would say I'm compassionate because I know certain things that I say can have an effect on how somebody feels.
Yeah.
So I don't say anything that's going to make somebody feel bad if it doesn't need to be said.
But that's aligning with your values.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's, going back to the topic of difficult conversations, I feel like more people should have just the willingness to have it, particularly with relationships. Because I know so many people who are in relationships, even me in the past, where I'd be in the relationship far longer than I should have been. Yeah. Just because I was like,
but that's avoidance.
I don't want to have this difficult conversation because I know she's going to cry, or I know it's going to be unpleasant.
But that's going to happen eventually. Yeah. Like it will happen. And the more you avoid it, what are you actually avoiding? You're avoiding your guilt. You're avoiding your shame. You're avoiding what you're feeling, but you're not helping the other person at all. And you'll convince yourself, but I'm helping them because I don't want them to feel bad. It's got nothing to do with them. It's got everything to do with how you're feeling. So if you see them cry, you feel bad. Your shame comes out, and your shame's like, you're a bad person. Look what you've just done to them. You've done this to them. But there's a really powerful story about it's a butterfly. It's a story of a butterfly, and there's a young child, and they found a butterfly, and they want to show it to their parent, and they put it into their hand, and they're like, oh mom, I'm going to save this. I'm going to save this. And eventually their mom comes back, and then they show the butterfly, but the butterfly's dead. And the moral of the story is sometimes we can hold on to things, and we think we're doing a positive thing. We think we're doing something really good by holding on to it, but actually we're not doing anything good for the butterfly. The butterfly can be flying freely, but we've chosen to keep it here. It's suffocated because of the oxygen that it's not getting, and as a result it's not able to it's dead. And that's really sad. Like, do we do that to other individuals because we're not being aligned, or we're not true to how we're really feeling? So instead, we're so focused on, I don't want them to feel upset, because if they do, and might not be conscious about it, but there's an avoidance somewhere within you that you're avoiding. And it doesn't just happen in relationships, it happens in business as well. So I see between business partners, one partner might feel like, this person, why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep, and it's like, why are you not letting them know? And instead, then the whole business will fail because the two people aren't getting on. They're not talking, they're not discussing how they're feeling. So it just comes out in all aspects of life. if you're avoiding. And that's where your inner work, you really need to step in to understand what is it that's going on for you. Why do you avoid? Why do you struggle with difficult conversations? Because is it once upon a time you were a young child, and if mom had an emotion, you felt responsible for that. And that's where it stems from. So it's going deeper into understanding, where does it all come from? Because there might be a young version of you in you that's struggling to sit with people when they are showing big emotions, because you don't know what to do. And you feel dysregulated. So as a result, you're just like, oh, just carry on, just carry on, just carry on. And you're not happy, and the other person's not happy.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I get a lot of questions and advice from guys who've just broken up in a relationship, and they're just like, you know, they feel so lost.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to do. And I think...
What do you say?
Well, I tell them, usually the first breakup, the first like real breakup, when you've been in love with them or it's a long-term relationship, that one sucks. It probably will be the hardest. I mean, I had the first one which hit the hardest was when I was 26. And honestly, it's like...
What did you feel?
Oh, just so, like, very lonely, very sad, empty. Because in a way, you almost lose your best friend as well.
Yeah.
So this person who you so used to talking with all the time, like they're just gone. Time always is the best healer. But I always say, like, you need to be occupied.
Yeah.
Like to be sat at home alone, bored. Like, especially, it would usually hit hardest before you go to bed, because that's when your mind wanders and you think about them. But if in the daytime you can just keep busy, keep your mind on something, you're on your mission, and being around friends can help massively.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's what helped you? Like, keep your mind occupied with something else, and then having the right friends around you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, now I'm older, and I've dealt with a lot of breakups now, so it certainly doesn't faze me like it used to faze me.
Yeah.
Like, I just came out of one, it was like a 2-year relationship, and it was definitely sad. The following few days after, it was hard.
Yeah.
Because it was like, she was my best friend. But I mean, I have so much going on now that I don't even have the time to sit back and think about it. Because I have all this stuff going on. And then luckily I'm in a position now, because I put in the hard work, it's really not hard finding a replacement.
I was going to say something, which is about I'm doing all these different things, but do you feel like you've got the space to sit with yourself and understand what's going on within you? Because you know what, you can replace easily. You can find someone, you can meet someone, but what's going on within you? Have you sat with that? Or has it just been very... Yeah,
because that's one of the benefits of, because I do spend quite a bit of time by myself. I'm always having conversations with myself.
Yeah.
I mean, even like leading up to the end of the relationship, I was asking myself every day, like, is this the person I'm supposed to be with? And with each day asking all these questions, asking about, like, just having discussions with my friends. Yeah. It was becoming very gradually apparent that, okay, this isn't right.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because, like, when you're in a relationship and, like, say, for example, the person becomes your right arm and you're so used to them being part of your life, and then all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, they're not going to be here. It's like, how do you now adjust to having no right arm? How do you now adjust? And as humans, we can evolve, we can change, we can get used to situations, but it's that initial phase where we feel that loss, we feel that disconnection, we can feel anger, we can feel resentment. Everyone's grief is very different, whether it was your choice, whether it wasn't. But there's a part of you that's like, okay, I know that this isn't right, but there's another part which is still the sadness that still comes up, and it can be hard to sit with that.
It's so weird, because at one point in time, especially in my past relationships, they've been the closest person to me. Yeah. And they've known more about me than anybody else. Like, sometimes they know more about me than my friends do. So, you know, you've gone from having this person where you're so close to them. Yeah. To them
being strangers. Disappear. Yeah.
I think that's so weird. Like, I still have...
Why is it weird, though? You've crossed your arms, like, that's the therapist's biggest, like, why? What's going on here?
It's just annoying.
Why is it annoying, though?
Because I've had relationships where they end, but I could quite happily still remain friends with them. Yeah. And, you know, talk to them, like, speak to them from time to time, because I still see them as a friend. Yeah. But they can't do that.
So do you think for them it's been difficult to shift from this and to this?
They'll, like, the feelings will come back. Like, when you end a relationship, sometimes the best thing to do is to stop talking so that they can, or I can, get over that person and just move on.
Yeah.
But if you still linger in that person's life, they might not ever get over you.
Yeah.
And that's going to prevent them meeting someone else.
Yeah.
So I have to come to the realization that, I mean, they're going to need their space, or I'm going to need my space.
And it's also like, people will sometimes say, yeah, we can be friends. But then when you try and be friends, it doesn't work. But I think it's like, it's trial and error and seeing, okay, can we be friends? Does this work? And if it doesn't, then you go your own separate ways, but it's having the conversation. I think when there's no conversation about it, that's when it can become really difficult, because you're not talking about the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously depends on how the relationship ended.
Yeah.
If one of you cheated on the other, then that didn't end very well. And one of them, someone's really upset and pissed off.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was like a pleasant mutual thing, then there's a higher chance that you could still remain friends to some extent.
But then it's also dependent on, say, if you do move forward and you meet someone else, they may not be comfortable then with you wanting to still be with or be in contact with your ex. They might feel it very uncomfortable. So then as a result, it naturally
and then that they all might even get jealous that you're with somebody else. So it is
human beings, isn't
there
it?
Isn't really a solution, I don't think. I just think it's weird how you can be so close and then just be strangers. But
I think that comes up with relationships. It comes up with family members. It comes up with work colleagues. It comes up in romantic relationships where you can be so close, you think this is forever, and then it's just not. It changes. Everything changes, and you think that, but this person is my forever. This person is everything that I'm ever going to have in life. But then you realize, and you adjust to a completely different life. And I think I see it as chapters. We have so many different chapters in life, and this chapter has helped you to get to this chapter, to then get to this one. And without this, you would never be where you are now. You would never have the experience and the understanding. So each relationship teaches you that.
And like now I'm at a point where I look back and I'm actually very thankful for that experience.
Yeah.
Like when I look back on my life, I'd be like, oh, that was really amazing. But it's
and there's learnings, isn't there? There's so many learnings that come up through each relationship, because you're a different version of yourself. And you take away, like, okay, I did this in this relationship. What was that about? But only if you reflect, you understand. If you don't have that reflection and you don't understand, you won't grow. You'll keep attracting the same thing. And that's when people end up in the same relationships, and they'll say, why do I keep attracting the same type of person? And it's like, right, have you delved into yourself? Have you understood why is it, or what is it that's going on within you? Are you used to someone who perhaps isn't emotionally available? Are you used to someone presenting in a certain way, and where does that come from?
Yeah, it's like certain women going for they go for the bad boys, and then they complain about bad boy behavior. It's like, well, what did you expect? Yeah.
And then all the good boys, like I've got friends that they're like, but I'm the good guy. I can give this and I can give this, and they don't choose me. And it's like, okay, right, how do we change that? Or how do you present yourself? But often it's, again, what do people feel attracted to, and what does social media show us? What is it that we learn from, like, the society that we live in? All of these things have a factor.
Yeah. I used to be too much of a nice guy. I was a people pleaser.
You were a people pleaser?
Yeah, I used to be like way too nice to everyone.
So when did you, or do you feel like you still are? Yeah. No. Wait, are we calling people pleasers dickheads? Is that what we're doing here? Wow.
No, there's like a fine line. If you're too nice in this world, you're going to get walked over. In business, people will take advantage of you. And then you'll say yes to everything and just won't be able to get anything done. And then in relationships as well, if you say yes to everything and you're too much of a pleaser and you're just like doing everything to make the other person happy, that's actually going to push them away from you.
Yeah.
So I think you need to take some action. You need to lead, show some sort of dominance, and just do the things which you would normally want to do anyway.
See, there's two things that come up to mind when you say that. First thing is, the way that you treat other people doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to treat you in the same way. So you might come in like, I want to be kind. I can see that this is suffering, or I can see that this is like this. I want to do this. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to see it in that way. And the second thing is, the way that I live life is almost like in the warrior pose. So do you do yoga? Are you interested in
Not really.
No. Okay. Do you know what the warrior pose is?
I've heard of it.
Okay, so the warrior pose
Can you
is...
do a demonstration on the sofa, please?
I can't do it on the sofa. I need to stand up. So you have your hand out and you have your heart open. So what I envision when I do this sort of pose is my hand is out, I'm protecting myself, but my heart is open. So rather than you just having your heart on your sleeve and be like, hey, everyone here, I have my heart. It's almost like my heart is open, but I'm also learning how to protect myself and making sure that I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really powerful in how to navigate life, because if you wear your heart on your sleeve, people will keep taking your heart and they'll keep taking it away. And you learn, why do people keep doing this? But you have to also understand that not everyone's going to treat you like you treat them.
Yeah. And I think if you want to get to a certain place in life, you have to be selfish to some degree. Like,
and I think selfish is negative, is seen as, it's a bad
I've had
thing.
some people, some past partners, just say to me, God, you're really selfish, aren't you? And I'm like, yes, I am selfish because I look after myself.
Yeah.
I'm looking after number one. Like, if I want to have a certain lifestyle or progress in a certain manner with my career, I have to be selfish and like do what's best for me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm working towards. Once I can get to the point where I have everything covered, I'm in a position where I can actually take care of, a family, my partner, then, I will do that then. But until I've got to that point.
Do you think you'll ever get to a point where you feel, and what is it that you're feeling? What is it that you're striving for?
That's a good question.
What do you want?
Because I don't know if it will... I think there's a lot of boxes which I've ticked off. But there's still things which I want to achieve.
Like what? Like what's really important to you that you feel like, okay, I need to get to this in order to feel whatever it is that you're trying to feel?
I think there's still room for me to earn more money. That's for sure. But not necessarily just so I can buy loads of stuff, but just so I can also progress with business ventures, start new businesses and hire more people, support the team. Because that's one thing which is it's kind of overlooked, is if you do want to build something really impressive, it costs a lot of money and capital to actually do that. And obviously I needed cash coming in to continue to live the lifestyle which I want to live. So it's like a mixture of both. It's weird because someone asked me, they said, "Oh, are you competitive?" And I was like, "No, I'm not really competitive." And then when I think about it, I think I am. But I never really was competitive at school, like in sports. I didn't really care if someone.
So what are you competitive with?
Possibly status.
What does status mean?
Just like a position in society.
Isn't that like, again, how people see you?
Maybe. There's like, I think there's lots of people who I admire and respect.
Yeah.
And I can't really associate with them because I'm not on their level yet. So I need to build myself up to be on this level so I can associate with the people that I want to associate with.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of men, you want to be respected. So I think there's more respect which I want to earn.
So it sounds like you know what path you want to take. You know what the next steps are to get to the level that you want to get to. But it also does feel like you're very content where you are. It's not that I need to get there to feel content.
I've had when I achieved a lot of the things which I wanted to achieve, which is like kind of designing this sort of dream lifestyle, I took my foot off the pedal and just really enjoyed life.
Yeah.
So it was doing enough work where I could maintain the money coming in, but I wasn't progressing. I wasn't earning more. I wasn't growing. It was like everything, it was kind of at a plateau. But life, the enjoyment of life was absolutely peak because I was doing everything that I wanted to do. Like I could just wake up and do half an hour of work and then just enjoy the rest of the day, which was great. But then do that for too long, you kind of feel a bit empty and as though you're just not really being useful. Yeah. Like that was a full-on selfish existence, a hedonistic lifestyle where you're just purely living for pleasure. And then I actually remember there would be people, they would message me and be like, "Oh, come on, like, where's your videos at?" Or like, why can't you do something that was inspiring us? Because I didn't make as many videos. So then I thought, you know what, this existence of hedonism isn't very satisfying.
Yeah.
A lot of the things which I wanted to do, I did, and it's actually not something I want to continue doing. And then I realized that one of the things that makes me most sort of content and satisfied is going out there, creating something, helping people, and doing challenging things.
Yeah.
It's like setting goals and then figuring out, how do I accomplish these goals? And then that feeling of accomplishing something or doing something you didn't want to do, that gives you that real buzz.
Yeah. It's like where you are right now. Like, I've been on a few of Tony Robbins' trainings, and the way that he discusses things is, initially people are chasing after money, but they get to a point in life where it's not about money, it's about people. And it's about seeing people go from A to B and giving them that tool, giving them that A to B, like, look, you can get to this space. And when they get to, and they reach that space, you feel that buzz within you. And it might be from your inner child, it might be from a part of you that once upon a time didn't see that. But when you see it, you're like, this is beautiful. And that's where you get your real pleasure from. So yeah, okay, money comes with that, but that's where it feels like you're wanting to go to, and that's what you're heading for. Is more of like, yeah, money's going to keep coming, but this is my main focus, is people.
Yeah. And just understanding more about business and just overall being a competent person who can do a lot. So,
but that's also learning and development.
Yeah.
Like, we'll never stop learning. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new going on, and your brain's always just stimulated by that if you enjoy that side of things. Some people I know, they don't like that, and I'm like, oh, have you read this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And like, oh God, for God's sakes, what are you learning now?
Well, one thing I found interesting, because I do meet and I interview a lot of really successful people, and I try and figure out, like, how the hell is this? Because I'd say I've got, pretty high ambition. My work ethic was certainly better than it used to be. But these people are just like, they are obsessed. They're so driven.
What do you think is the driver for them from the people that you've interviewed?
I think the funny thing is, they probably had some messed up childhood to some extent, where they are not feeling accomplished, or they're trying to, impress someone, because maybe one of their parents was just constantly saying that they were not good enough. Or maybe they had like maybe the father walked out on them, or there was like an abuse in the relationship, whatever it might be. Like, there's something that happened in their childhood which has caused them to just, have this insane work ethic. And it's weird, because these sorts of things they can make you or break you.
Yeah, definitely.
So for some people, it turns them into these super ambitious and successful entrepreneurs who like founded like these incredible companies. Whereas other people, it will just, they'll have no confidence, no self-belief. They might turn to drugs and achieve nothing with their life. So it's kind of crazy.
But it's also, I think, about environment and what you have around you, because a lot of successful people, if you listen to their stories, they come from nothing, or they come from like the abandonment, the rejection, and those are the emotions that fuel them. So when we think of trauma, everyone can have different levels of trauma, but it's what goes on for you in that trauma. And if you continue to try and we avoid in different ways. Addiction can show up in different ways. Addiction can show up through you taking alcohol, drugs as a way of avoiding, but it's also work. The work ethic of like, right, okay, I'm going to go. I need more to help you feel that I'm good enough. So again, it becomes outside in rather than inside out, because you're chasing this external thing. And are you just running away from yourself? Are you just running away, not just from yourself, from your inner child who was once abandoned, once was rejected, and is now sort of sitting within you, sort of tied up somewhere where you're like, I don't even want that part of me out. And it's only until you get to a certain point in life where you want to start exploring and diving deeper and understanding, hang on, why is there this part of me that keeps sabotaging or keeps showing up? Because that part of you will leak out. And it will find a way to show up and through your patterns of behavior. And you may not see it until you start looking, or unless there's no other way to go and you've hit that brick wall and it's like, I don't know what else to do now. I need to go into therapy or into coaching to try and understand this. And people think therapy is a bad thing. They think it's a weakness. They think there's something wrong with you. But actually, when you go in, or when you come into therapy, this is where you see, like, you get to see yourself. And it's, again, the stigma that we have around therapy, that being what people are going to think, and you avoid it because of that. And it's like, it's a beautiful space that you can learn so much about yourself. And I've been in therapy, Salam in therapy, and I take away so many learnings from it where you just understand like, that's why that happened, or that's why that came up. It's just a constant personal development journey.
So I have a question for you.
Go on then.
How much do you think in a relationship the male should discuss his problems or concerns or worries?
Why is it just males? Why can't it be females as well?
No, because females going to do that regardless.
But I've got male friends who are quite feminine and they like talking about things, and then their partner might be like, I don't want to hear about this. I've got this to do. So I think sometimes we put people in boxes and we say, oh, men should be like this, or women are like this. But actually, I disagree. I think sometimes people show up very differently. It's not just because they're men, they present in this way. Some men are more feminine and they want to talk about emotions. Some women aren't. They're very hyper independent. They don't want to talk about their emotions because they're not in touch with that side of themselves. So I think it's like, to answer your question in terms of, do partners talk about their emotions and their problems? I think it's really important, because say if I've had a busy day, I've come back home and I'm like, oh, I just need some time by myself, but I'm presenting in that way rather than saying it. How is my partner going to understand that actually I've had a bad day, I just need some time alone? They're not going to know that. So they probably think, oh God, what's wrong with her? Or why is she presenting like, or did I do something? So then they start overthinking. So when we talk about, okay, look, this is what's going on for me. I've had a really busy day. I've been a little bit stressed. I just need some time alone. So I know what I need.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing my own thing. And then at least my partner knows where I am with that. And I think that's important to talk about where you're at and how you're feeling.
Yeah, because I think from my point of view, if I was stressed out, I would tell my partner that I'm stressed out, but I wouldn't go too heavily into sharing all of my problems with my partner.
What when you say problems, what do you mean? Like, is that like,
I don't know, like
work stuff?
Yeah,
or?
like my anxieties or the things that I was uncertain about, whatever it might be. Because I think,
what do you think stops you?
From my point of view, I think like a woman would look to their partner and a man, as I know this is not always the case, but I would like to see myself as quite a masculine man. So I think I would want the woman to look at me and be like, yeah, he's cool, calm and collected. Everything is under control. He's competent. Like he'll figure it out. Whereas if I come to her and I'm like, I don't know about this, don't know about that, like I'm feeling sad today, like and just start going on like that, they'll be like, what the hell? Who is this guy who's just so like emotional?
But isn't there a different way of doing it? Look how you acted out, the anxious person just there. Why is it that when we're emotional, we're like, we're not like that? When we're talking about emotions, we're not like this like needy person. We're just discussing we're human. We're just discussing what's happening. And there's nothing wrong with owning that and being authentic and congruent and saying, look, I know that you see me as being this alpha male, but right now I've got a lot going on at work. There's stuff going on. I'm not sure I want to discuss it right now. I don't want to put it on the table. I'm just going to have some time away. So at least the other person knows where you stand. And you're also still honoring your own power and your own emotions.
I think you just probably need to be selective with who you share your problems with.
I think sometimes, like, I know I speak to certain friends and I might say something and I know it's completely lost, like it's lost them. So it's just gone above their head.
Well, they don't care.
They don't get it. They don't understand. So say if I'm talking about business stuff to a friend and I'm like, oh, this is what's happened with this person, or this and this and this, and I'm thinking I'm making this decision. If they don't get it, and they're like, yeah, you can do whatever you want, and I'm like, they haven't heard me. They haven't heard what I'm actually trying to ask. Yeah. So I think sometimes that then can impact on trust, because you feel like, okay, I can't come to this person, but there might be someone else who gets it. So it's about depth, self-awareness, understanding, and where people are at on their journey.
Well, and I've had some partners in the past who they'd come up to me and they'd complain about like being stressed out, and they're like, oh my God, there's like so many things to do. And I just think, oh my God, like
your face is like smiling when what happens to you when you hear that from someone?
I just think, wow, like if that's what stresses you out, then just imagine being in my shoes.
But then do they know what's going on in your shoes if you don't share? If you're trying to be this alpha man and
I don't think so, because then it just makes their it's like you're trying to outdo them and you're making their problems irrelevant. Like it's like you're trying to one up them.
But
imagine they're so vulnerable and they're like, I'm struggling with all these things and I'm stressed out, and you just laugh at them and be like, ha, well, I've got to do this, and then they're just like, oh.
But there's something really powerful there in like shutting them down, isn't it? You're not shutting them down. What you're saying is you're helping them. Right at the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned about perspective, and you said at the end of the day, you'll watch something around space. You'll watch something that just blows your mind into a different perspective. So isn't this also about honoring that with your partner and saying, hey, look, I know that you're really worried about your manager and what they might say at work, but there's also so many other things that you can be thinking of right now. And I really appreciate that that's what you're worried about. And that's what's really concerning you. But you're also you're honoring it. You're not laughing at them. You're not shaming them. You're not saying anything, because for them, that might be a really big thing. You're holding 10,000 plates. You're doing that. They might be holding 3 plates. It's not saying that what their worries are insignificant, but you're helping them to see a different perspective and giving them insight into how you see the world. And that's a beautiful thing in relationships, in honoring that. And if you feel like, okay, every time your partner's coming back and presenting with something that they're really anxious and stressed about, it's about understanding, okay, what's going on for me, what's going on for this partner, and understanding, is this the right relationship for me? And what's happening there? Why is it that this partner keeps coming back with anxiety thoughts, and how is that making me feel?
Yeah.
Because does that shut me down? Does that dim my light? Does that dim them down? Like what is it that's really happening in this relationship dynamic?
I think it's definitely very important for more couples to have these conversations. Maybe we make time to have these conversations. How do they go about that?
There's so many ways. There's coaching, there's therapy, and I would also encourage
couples therapy.
Yeah, look at your face. You're like, what? Yes, you come into a therapy session. What's your thoughts about a therapy session? Like when you hear therapy session?
No, I think therapy's cool. I think more people should have it, because a lot of people are mentally not healthy, and I think particularly, for a guy, if you have like a really good, switched on, intelligent group of male friends, like that is almost a therapy session.
Yeah.
Like I've spent time with my friends, been vulnerable, shared my concerns, and they give me some good advice and it makes me feel better. And I walk away from that feeling great. Problem is, not everybody has that.
Yeah.
Okay. Like a lot of guys are lonely. They don't have a good friendship group. And the same thing maybe with women. I don't know. I can't put myself in their shoes, but I would imagine spending time with other female friends can be a therapy session in a way, but it depends on the quality of the women that you're spending, because there might just be a load of toxic women who are maybe don't even want the best for you. So I think, most people should, especially if you are struggling, therapy is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I think a problem is knowing who. For me, when I think of therapy, I'm very particular with who I'm going to share with.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to go talk to some stranger about some of my deepest feelings and thoughts.
But I think it's really important, like who you choose. I remember my first therapist, and I went to go and see her, and she kept looking like this, and I was like, "Oh, am I boring her? Am I saying something I shouldn't say?" And she was looking at the clock, so the clock was above her. So obviously, I had all these thoughts going on, thinking, "Oh God, am I boring?" And I would just quiet, and I'd just shut myself down. And then I found another therapist who I again went to, and I just had to tick off the hours for my course. And I was like, I'm just doing this for the sake of it. But then I finally found a therapist that I felt she got it, she understood it, she saw me. And that's where I felt a lot of changes happened, and I could talk about these things. But it was interesting because look at how, if a therapist is looking like this and you're going there and you're thinking, that would mess with my head. Yeah, because you're thinking all these different things. So I think therapy isn't just going in there thinking there's something wrong with me, or I have to go there at the last resort. It's also looking at, okay, maybe I can learn something from this. Maybe I can take something away, and this becomes my space to do that, rather than thinking I have to go there only in my last sort of resort. Yeah.
Awesome. And I appreciate your time. I could honestly go on and talk about everything for hours, but the time has run out. So, where can people find you on socials?
I am on Instagram at Dr. Lalitaa. It's Lalitaa spelled Lalitaa. So you can catch me there. And you do actually offer one-to-one? I offer one-to-one. I offer group. I offer a couple. So wherever you feel you are on your journey, get in contact.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.